Why are religions exempt from paying taxes? Religions have always and will always be a business. They should be paying into our tax system to support much needed services and amenities for the community. One of the main reasons why churches are exempt from paying taxes is to maintain the separation between church and state. How many times have you heard or seen religious leaders express their preference for a political candidate or party and taking a stance in a political subject? Our laws claim that religious organizations do not pay property, state, or federal taxes for two reasons. One is to maintain the separation between church and state, and the other reason is because they claim to be charitable organizations. According to a University of Tampa Bay study, our federal government can increase tax revenue by $71 billion a year if religious establishments were taxed. This money can be used to assist people in need. Churches claim and are incorrectly known to provide help for people in need. Just how much money do religious organizations use for charitable purposes? As an example, the Mormon Church only used 0.7% of their earnings for charitable causes. Other religions do not look any better. On average, churches only use 29% of their earnings to help people in need, while 71% is used for operating costs. Compare those numbers to an organization like the Red Cross. They use 92.1% of their earnings to help people in need and only use 7.9% of their earnings to cover operating costs. I am going to say that it would be difficult for most religions to prove that most of their earnings are used for charitable causes. For this reason, they should not call themselves charity organizations. What about the claim that we have separation between church and state? We have all seen religious leaders get involved and walk around with our elected officials. In education, we have religious organizations that request public schools to teach creationism or what they now call intelligent design. That is mostly based on Christian beliefs and it ignores any other type of religious beliefs. An example of that is the famous 1925 Scopes monkey trials. This is where science teacher John Scopes was tried for teaching evolution in his science class. Another topic is school prayer. It was not until 1962 that public school sponsored prayer was prohibited. We still have religious groups trying to put school sponsored prayer back in public schools. We also have religious involvement in legislative decisions like same sex marriage and abortion. Religions have often tried and succeeded in influencing marriage legislation across the country that prohibits marriage between two people of the same sex. Biblical passages are often used to support these legislative decisions. Biblical passages are also used to be against a woman's right to choose to keep or end a pregnancy. It is obvious that religion is very involved in our political landscape, so the separation between church and state clause should not be used to claim tax exemptions. In my introduction, I stated that religious organizations should be taxed. Religious organizations are tax exempt because they claim to be charitable organizations and they are supposed to be separate. There's supposed to be separation between church and state. The reality of the situation is that they are making a lot of money that could help the community if churches were taxed. Studies have shown that churches do not use the majority of their earnings to help people in need, and they are often involved in political activities. The majority of us might have an emotional attachment to a religious organization, but this should not mean that we cannot be objective and see how religions abuse our tax system and are constantly attempting, and sometimes succeeding, in crossing the fine line between separation of church and state. These are the reasons why I encourage everyone to be open about taxing religious organizations. Thank you.